Are you setting goals high enough? In today's reading of the 10x rule by Grant Cardone, it's all about setting your goals high enough. 10x goals. In chapter 9, 10x goals, it says, I believe that one of the major reasons why people don't stick to their goals and fail to accomplish them is because they fail to set them high enough from the beginning. I have made the mistake. He's like, oh, I'm going to set realistic goals. Here's what it says about that. The reality is that if you start small, you are probably going to go small. People's failure to think big enough usually means they will never act big enough, often enough, or persistently enough. Average and realistic goals are almost always a letdown to the person setting them, who is then unable to fuel his or her goals with the actions necessary. See, 10x is about action. You got to have a 10x action, and you're not going to have a 10x action if you have less than 10x goals, if you have average goals, realistic goals, practical goals. Who's to decide and determine what a realistic goal is? People who don't live up to goals and want you to live down. Those are the people. Indeed, most people are so apathetic about their goals that they only write them down once a year. Guess what once a year that is? Happy New Year. Oh, my goals for the year. And then by what? Spring, those goals are forgotten. Average goal setting cannot and will not fuel massive 10x actions. If you approach an endeavor with average thinking, you will start to give up the moment you come up against any challenges, resistance, or less than optimal conditions. To get through resistance, you must have a big reason to get there. The bigger and more unrealistic your goals are, and the more they are aligned to your purpose and duty, the more they'll energize and fuel your actions. And he goes on to say, never set realistic goals. I repeat, never set realistic goals. You can get realistic life without setting goals for it. One more time. Never set realistic goals. You can get a realistic life without setting goals for it. I truly despise the word realistic because it is based on what others who have probably been operating at only the first 3 degrees of action have accomplished and believe possible. Realistic thinking is based on what others think is possible, but they are not you and have no way of knowing your potential and purpose. If you're going to set goals based on what others think, then be sure to do it based on what the giants on this planet think. They will be the first to tell you, don't base your goals on what I have done because you can do even more. But what if you set your goals based on those top players in the world? Steve Jobs' goals, for instance, is to ding the universe, to create products that forever change our planet. Look at what he has done with Apple and Pixar. If you're going to set goals comparable to those of others, then at the very least, pick the giants who have already created massive success. You have to be aware of people who tell you to set goals based on fear of failure. A lot of people are trained to set goals based on fear of failure. That's where this concept of realistic goals come from. And like he's saying here, who's to decide what realistic goals are? Who's to tell you you can't climb Mount Everest if you've never done it before? So if you're gonna set a goal of climbing Mount Everest, go to the Mount Everest people who've actually climbed it. We set goals and then you tell people about your goals. Oh, you can't do that. You can't accomplish that. Well, look at who you're talking to. Have they achieved goals in life? No. They've settled for average, realistic goals. So people who've settled for average, realistic goals don't understand massive action-taking goals. So set your goals based on the Mount Everest achievers, not the play it safe average takers. That's what the point of chapter 9 is. 10x goals. The 10x rule is not for everyone. It is clearly not for anyone who is willing to accept average or mediocrity, or for those who prefer to kick back and settle for the leftovers of life. It is not for those who want to depend on hope and prayer for their success. The 10x rule is meant for the few people obsessed with creating an exceptional life and who want to be in charge of that process. The 10x rule removes the concepts of luck and chance from your business equation and shows you exactly what mindset you must embrace in order to lock in massive success. Massive success goes beyond setting realistic goals, setting doable goals, attainable goals. No, set massive, unrealistic, unbelievably high goals. So if you miss that goal, you might hit this goal. But if you're setting average goals, what if you miss that goal? Set massive 10x goals.